Well, hello again. I'm Dawn Janice, and this is Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett, and we are Lightweavings podcast. This is where we ask that question, what has dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? We will talk about subjects that may be light dimming for some of us, and sometimes they're hard and uncomfortable to talk about, but that is where the magic happens, and we turn that light back on. So let's get to work on that, shall we? How are you doing, Wendy?
I'm doing fantastic, Dawn. So great to be here with you again. And I'm excited for another wonderful episode. We're going to talk about some really fun stuff today, as
Yes,
always.
as always, yes. Yeah, it's just an honor to be here. And as you can see, I'm wearing wings today.
They're beautiful.
That's because it says you've always had your wings. It's time to fly. So let's start flying. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about what happens at a certain point in our life. And this is for those of you out there that may be experiencing some changes in how you're thinking, how you're being, how you're looking at relationships. Maybe things from the past are coming up. And we're calling that spiritual awakening, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
It begins very subtly. And we may not recognize it happening. But I know I was probably in my 40s when just the first questions started happening. Like, for example, somebody asked me a question, and it was like, this must have been an angel, but she asked me, what do you want for the rest of your life? What does your career look like? What do you want to do? What's fun for you? I didn't know, Wendy.
Hmm.
You would think I would know, but I didn't have an answer. I had to really drill down and start thinking about it, and it was hard work. And that told me something. That told me that I needed to do the work, number one. I've always been goal oriented, but yet the big things I didn't look at the rest of my life. I thought about my children's life, what I wanted for them, which really wasn't any of my business. It was their business. Now I know this. I thought about, what I wanted, how much money I wanted to make that year, what kind of a promotion I was looking at, possibly just very short-sighted. And that's okay. Those are goals, and that's part of the goal making process. But the long range thing and realizing my mortality at that point was kind of a shock to me. So, did you ever experience that type of an awakening?
There definitely were times when I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And like you said, you're focused on your children, and so many of us as mothers, especially, and I know fathers can too, but it's mostly as mothers, we give up our life and focus on our children, and we don't think about ourselves. But when we do start getting that knock from our soul, which this angel, I'm assuming is in human form, said to you, what do you want to do with your life? That was, like you said, it was the opening the door to an awakening for you to start transitioning and start thinking about yourself. And one of the signs that you are going through a spiritual awakening is starting to question life. And you started to question life. There are like three different, I'm going to call it stages or signs that you're awakening that I know that we were going to talk about today. And the one that you're talking about is questioning life, questioning your life purpose, what you're supposed to do with yourself. And it brings up other questions as well. And so maybe if we can just put more of them out there, we can kind of cover them, because they're very deep. The asking, what do you want to do with your life, is huge. Start questioning your relationships. Is this the right relationship for me? And start questioning spirituality. So that's one of the signs of a spiritual awakening, is that when you start questioning your life. And I love that you started questioning about you first, because it starts with you.
Absolutely. It has to.
Yeah.
This is the vessel that we're in. This is where our spirit lives, in this body and beyond. But this is holding our human form. This is our human form. And what are we going to do with the rest of our life? And who are we going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Because that actually is the end goal, is who are we going to be?
Yeah.
While I was going through this time and trying to figure out my self with a capital S, a separate word, myself, I started looking back and recalling things in my life, or times in my life and situations that I'd sort of just packed away in a trunk in the back of my mind. And they came out, and I sort of shook them out and got rid of the mothballs, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
started taking a look at these situations and memories,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of started putting puzzle pieces together about who I am, who I was at that point, how it affected me, how it changed the trajectory of who I see myself as. And it was really, really interesting. And it doesn't usually happen like that, like
Mm-hmm.
Eckhart Tolle. It did
Mm-hmm.
happen to him just like that. But for me, it's been a slow process. Not that I'm completely spiritually awake, everybody. Nope, I'm still going through that process, but I recognize it now. And I think the further along we get with this questioning of things, of not things, but who we are
Mm-hmm.
and why and where we're going and who we're being, um, I feel like it opens up my eyes, my spiritual eyes, to recognize signs, messages, energy,
Mm-hmm.
more than every day, more than it was the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting how some people like Eckhart Tolle and was it Brene Brown? They had like this instant spiritual awakening, and the rest of us, we go through it in steps. It's our soul is on a different path to that, and it's all beautiful. Yeah, we get to during this time we question and ask ourselves, who am I? Because as you're going through a spiritual awakening, your identity changes, and you can be in like this a little bit of a void of not knowing who you are, like questioning, what is it you want to do? How do you want to be? Which is a beautiful answer. Instead of saying, what do I want to do? It's like, how do I want to be? That is so beautiful. And we forget that, or we're not even taught that, because we're so taught to be action oriented. And I love that you brought that up. Just be. How do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And I love what you brought up too about old memories coming up, and something that is that was really huge for me in my darkest night of the soul, or darkest night of the ego, whatever you want to call it, when I was going through like the darkest part of my transformation, was memories suddenly popping up out of nowhere. And what I know, that times are changing, things are happening very rapidly. When I was going through it, the general consensus was you could hold this stuff down until you're in about your 40s, 50s. And then this stuff is going to start coming up. If you haven't dealt with it when you're in your 20s, your 30s, you just drank it away, shopped it away, drugged it away, just numbed yourself, however, it's going to pop up. And during a spiritual awakening, it is important to recognize that this is happening for your soul's highest good.
Mm.
It's painful.
I would also add, worked it away. Like,
Uh-huh.
30s, it's like career, 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 right? It's like you got to make a certain amount of money to, prove who you are. This is your ego for sure. Drive a certain car, wear certain clothes, hang out with certain people, have a certain attitude, use the certain words. Your children are in certain activities. I'm speaking of myself right now. That was so shallow, but at the time, I thought that's what I was supposed to, quote unquote, do
Mm-hmm.
and be.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't satiating to my soul. I didn't feel happy in who I was, even though I was successful, pretty successful. Um, it's not all about the money. It's not all about the car. It's not about the house. It's not about the clothes. It's about making a difference
Mm-hmm.
to myself as well as, others that may be in my sphere of influence, and, the ripple effect of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then questioning the relationships. That's a good one that you brought up. Questioning relationships. It's like, why am I dating this person? Or what is it about this group of friends that attracted me to them? And then that starts shifting. I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
more we start seeing and feeling the energy of being in alignment, my group of people that I spend the most time with has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I still love my old friends. I still care about them, but people do grow apart at times. They go in different directions. Romantic relationships as well as friendships and family.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's more than okay. It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And I feel like as far as family goes, a lot of us were brought up with that family is everything. You have to stick with your family. You always must support your family. And there's times when you, some of us just know in our soul that it's just not right,
Mm-hmm.
that it's time to move on
Mm-hmm.
because they're just maybe not understanding who you are
Mm-hmm.
and loving that part of you. In fact, maybe there's resentment or um, it's like I use this scenario all the time, this little saying about crabs in a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that have heard me talk, you've heard me say this before, but it's like a galvanized bucket with crabs in it, and crabs will stand on top of each other to try to get to the top. And when one gets to the top and starts pulling itself out with its little claw, the others pull it back in,
Yeah.
not allowed to get out and show off or be more than
Be.
who you where you're at right now. It's not, that makes others uncomfortable at times.
It does. Yeah. They don't want you to be free. They don't want you to be different, have something that they don't have. And that's such a great point. It can be really hard to go through this transition that you're going through and know that you could lose friends, could lose family, because like you say, we are so conditioned to hang on to people and that your family is your family no matter what. And when you realize that sometimes, you just outgrow, for lack of better words, you outgrow your family. I like to say your vibration changes and you're just not a vibrational match. And when you're
That,
not a vibrational match, it's hard to be around other people. And that was a really hard thing for me, um, in the sense of with relationships. Like changed my view on religion. I was raised pretty staunch, Pentecostal. And when I started going through my journey, let go of my family system's belief system, and it
Mhm.
scared me to death
Yes.
because my family's so hardcore. I was afraid that I would be rejected. And if you have any kind of rejection or abandonment wounds from childhood, that makes it even worse. And it's I've lost friends, so I know what it feels like to lose a friend, and I also know what it feels like to lose, family members. And it can be much harder to lose a family member just because you're so enmeshed. Thankfully, I didn't lose my family. I still have people praying for my soul because they think I'm going to burn in hell when I die. And so, but it is really scary. Um, and that's where we get to be courageous. We
Mhm.
get to be courageous and decide, are we going to listen to the calling of our soul and keep moving forward? Or are we going to listen to our ego that wants to keep us safe? And a part of the spiritual awakening is making peace with that ego. Some people call it the ego die off, killing the ego. I like to view it as integrating the ego, loving that part of yourself. That part is so afraid to do something different, and just to assure it that it's okay. Your soul, your higher self say, hey, I'm in charge now. But it is really, really scary. And it takes a lot of courage and just knowing that you're okay. And if your family does reject you, if your friends reject you, if you just feel like you don't fit in with your friends, the beautiful thing is you're okay, and you're going to find your people. You're
Mm.
going to find your people that are resonating on that path with you. When I was going through the thickness of it all, I had a couple friends that I could confide to, because it's something that you don't really want to talk about necessarily. Sometimes, it can be so intimidating and scary to talk about. Oh, I'm going crazy, and I'm shifting, and I don't know what's going on. You can feel a bit out of control. It can be really hard to know who to confide in.
Mhm.
And you want to make sure you confide in somebody that is a support to you. And actually, I was blessed that I have still a very dear friend who knew what was going on and was able to explain it to me, because it just wasn't talked about, wasn't really talked about back then. And that really helped.
Beautiful. It's wonderful that you had that person that understood where you are, because, and I think that that is an issue with a lot of people, is that that's why they keep quiet and keep it themselves. Um, because I mean, it's a basic need for us to be a part of a tribe,
Hmm.
belonging, and the basic need, because, it's primal. If
Hmm.
we weren't in a group, we wouldn't survive.
Right.
And so that's where that fear comes from. And you were talking about that ego part, and yeah, I've heard a lot of the killing off of the ego. No,
Hmm.
that poor ego wants to be loved
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
And that's a part of us. It's a part of us,
Hmm.
everybody. And we may call it a shadow side, or we may just call it our ego, whatever we call it, or a dark part of us. It's We are whole when we invite that part of us to come along and reassure it that everything is going to be okay. And I know that sounds weird, but literally talking to that part of us and saying, I see you, Dawn, that is worried about what people think by you wearing high heels when you go to North Dakota, for example."
Hmm.
um, it's uh, it's okay. I know that there's a fear there because you're going to feel judged. Just know that we're working on that. You're coming with us, and pretty soon you're going to feel better about that. Just sort of have a conversation like that. And like I said, I know that kind of sounds weird, but it's just really what we're doing subconsciously to that ego part of us, and recognizing it. And that is part of the spiritual awakening, is really recognizing those things, being aware,
Hmm. Yes.
seeing yourself, judge yourself in the mirror, for example, like recognizing that I started doing that. I'm doing the high five habit by Mel Robbins. And sometimes when I look in the mirror and I just start judging my hair, for example, or, you know, something about my body or my bottom teeth being crooked or whatever it is, I recognize it now and I stop doing it. All of those little things are part of it. It's part of an awakening process and learning to love yourself more. Bottom line, love yourself with a capital S, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You know, what comes to mind is maybe you've had this experience too, where when you're in the moment, and I mean, I'm not talking about now because you're in a different place, but let's say in the past, you look in the mirror and like you say, you judge yourself, you know, oh, my hair looks stupid, my smile is this, or my eyes are that. And you just think that you look blah, right? And then if you had a picture of yourself at that time, and then years later, you look back at yourself and like, I didn't look so bad after all.
I looked really good back then.
I know. It's like, I wish I would have realized that. And
Yeah. And
I-
and yeah, that's another part of the awakening is like going through that process and understanding that. And it takes a certain maturity level. You have to be around for a little bit. It doesn't happen right away. It doesn't usually happen in your 20s and 30s. I mean, I'm sure that it does for some people. It didn't for me. I'm just speaking for myself.
Mhm,
I had to be around for a while to be able to do just that. Like
mhm.
that's a great example of seeing myself in little pictures that I hated in myself, going, "Oh, I wish I looked like that now."
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, that's doing it again. That's like wishing you looked like you used to instead of loving what you look like now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Loving the now.
Yeah.
That person in the mirror now. Because that's all we have is the now.
Yeah. What a great message. And for, I know you shared this before, but for those that are hearing this for the first time, will you share with us what your high five, what you're talking about?
Oh, yes. So Mel Robbins, who is a big influencer on YouTube and on podcasts. So I'm sure a lot of you know who she is. She's written books. One of is the 5 minute or the 5 second rule, jumping out of bed, 5 minutes and giving yourself 5 minutes when you wake, 5 seconds, not minutes, 5 seconds when you wake up in the morning to get your butt out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get up. And then she wrote another 5 book, which is the high five habit. And it's just something that she recognized in herself was, getting up to, go to the bathroom first thing in the morning. We all know what that's like. Get up and then you wash your hands or brush your teeth and then look in the mirror. Some people don't ever look in the mirror. Did you know that? Some
Mm,
people are afraid to see themselves in the mirror.
mhm,
They're not wanting to know
mhm,
who that person is.
mhm,
But I do look at myself in the mirror because I care what I look like. And she did that. And she was criticizing herself and beating herself up about what she looked like. And she realized what she was doing.
mm,
She realized that she was starting her day off with criticism. It's like somebody else looking at you as soon as you wake up and telling you how bad you look and how much work you've got to do on yourself. And she realized that that was not helping her feel good about who she is. And so she created the high five habit. So here's what she does, and she teaches others to do, including me. She gets up in the morning, she goes to the bathroom, she washes her hands, she brushes her teeth, she puts down the toothbrush and looks at herself with a capital S in the mirror, into her pretty, I think she's got brown eyes, and smiles and gives herself a high five, says nothing. But yet, yes, actually high fives the mirror. Yes, there's going to leave fingerprints, which is probably a good thing because it's going to remind you all day long. There's something about giving yourself a high five. When somebody gives you a high five, what does that mean? What does
I
that
mean,
mean?
yeah, it means great job. You're
Good
awesome.
job.
You're
Yeah,
amazing.
you're amazing. Yes, you can do this.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
It's encouraging
Mhm.
and it's rewarding. It's celebrating who you are. That's Mel Robbins. That's her message. Simple, profound. And it has changed a lot of people's lives. I know we do in our coaching, a lot of us utilize a mirror exercise similar to that, where we actually use words, where we have to look at ourself in the eye for 10 minutes and say, I love you, over and over again until you mean it. Any of my clients out there that are listening right now know what I'm talking about. You know how uncomfortable it is at first. And it is uncomfortable at first. And that just shows us how uncomfortable we are with looking at ourselves
Mhm.
and actually saying those words to ourselves. But the bottom line is, and this is really the bottom line of all of this, that we have to love ourselves unconditionally to transcend, to be self-actualized, to give to the world like we've talked about we want to do
Yeah.
fully, and
Yeah.
to have inner peace.
Yeah. And to empower yourself, and to remember who you are. That's what the spiritual awakening is all about, is letting go of all of this old baggage and remembering who you are. I love the name of this podcast, light weavings, and what has dimmed your light. And through your spiritual awakening, you get to go in and figure that out and allow that to unfold. And it's so beautiful when you get through the harshness, the darkness, the challenging part of all of this. It's so beautiful when you see how amazing you are, because you will get to look in the mirror with ease and say, yeah, hello, beautiful. I got this, and all the dissatisfaction with life, and the restlessness is behind you because you've figured it out. And an image that comes to mind for all of this awakening is kind of like a chick being born. That hardness, that uncomfortableness, that pecking away, and the shedding of the old. And some people use an analogy of shedding of the skin of the snakes, and I don't like snakes, so I'll go back to the chicken.
Yeah.
But it's the breaking out of what's confining you. You know.
Yes. The shell is perfect, because it is. It's at first it doesn't seem like you're getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a little teeny step forward.
Yeah.
Like, she started with the 5-second rule, getting up
Yeah.
in the morning and starting your day. There's lots of reasons for that. Scientifically, your brain works better if you don't go back to sleep. If you actually get up, your brain works better. I think we all want that. And it goes so much deeper than that. But first of all, getting up in the morning, starting your day, and then celebrating who you are.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what your hair looks like, no matter how much like yesterday's makeup is smeared on your face, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrating yourself.
Yeah.
And it helps me to see myself when I was a little girl, when I look into my eyes, because my eyes are still the same. They're still those same eyes
Mm-hmm.
when I was a very little girl. And how can you not love a little 5-year-old person, a
Yeah.
little 5-year-old you? You have to. I mean, I would not tell my grandchild anything yucky about them like I tell myself sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it helps to see myself some days as a younger me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes go way back,
Mm-hmm.
because we're always that person. That person still lives in us. We're always that same person.
Mm-hmm.
We're always all of our ages.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah. And a part of our awakening is going back and remembering and reconnecting with that little 5-year-old or whatever age, and just honoring how incredibly brave you were at that time, because you did the best that you could with whatever the family dynamics were, whatever the school dynamics were. There's bullies, there's people criticizing you, there's expectations, there's the world trying to fit you in a friggin' box, trying to mold you into how they want you to be. And as an adult going through your awakening, you get to go back and like rescue that little self, just shower that little self with all the love and give her a voice and hear all of her stories that she wasn't able to share. And yeah, and you're right, because you would never ever talk to your children or your grandchildren the way you talk to your adult self, which is, like you say, is actually talking to your inner child. And we don't always know that, but now you do. I mean, now listeners know, you know it. But,
Yeah.
you know,
And once you hear this, you can't unhear it.
that's right. That's
Now
right. And
you know.
that's exactly right. And also, once you start on your path of this craziness of awakening and transforming and just becoming the best version of yourself, the most loving, most bright, expansive version of yourself, there is no going back. You do get to choose how fast you want to go. Your soul may be calling you faster than what your ego wants to keep pace with. And then that is a personal choice. But there is absolutely no going back. And
Mm.
you will be so grateful that you didn't go back. Who wants to go back into the muck and the constriction and, you know?
Yeah, the construction, it's messy. I don't like messy. I'm over the messy. Yeah, and you brought up something earlier, which was talking about sort of a feeling of dissatisfaction. Maybe it's an anxiety that you can't put your finger on,
Mhm,
you know, um, really unexplained.
mhm,
And that happens to me. There are days and like periods of time, sometimes weeks, where I'm feeling that. I have
mhm,
recently.
mhm.
What does that mean?
Well, during our awakening, we can have unexplained anxiety. We can have unexplained depression. We can have all kinds of like even unexplained sadness. And what that means is there's a part of you, we just talked about that inner child. I like to refer to things as the inner child more so than the ego. It's that part of you that's knocking at the door saying, hey, there's something that I need you to pay attention to. So any of that anxiety, it's like, okay, that's an opportunity to go sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that you're really feeling? Because anxiety, there's emotions underneath that anxiety. It's kind of like with anger, there are emotions under anger, there are emotions under depression. What are you really feeling? What are you worried about? Anxiety tends to be, worrying about the future. What is it that you are concerned about? It can be related to the past, but there's that part of you that is buried, but it's ready for you to open that door. So it's a knock on the door.
A knock on the door.
Yeah. And you get to
That's an,
answer the door or you get to stuff it back down again.
that's an incredible sort of clarity right there. A knock on the door when I'm feeling some anxiety or some unexplained, almost mm, dread,
Mm,
something like that. Have any of you experienced that? I have. And later I find out that there was some reason for it, but my body and my mind, or my body was feeling it,
mm,
not knowing where it was coming from. But it is a knock on the door. It means something needs attention.
mhm,
It might be a relationship.
mhm,
It might be, and it could be positive, attention, or it could be time to end it.
mhm,
Um, or there's something unsatisfied in you. Like we work with the wheel of life when we work with clients,
mhm,
and it kind of pinpoints different areas in your life of which need attention,
mhm,
which are we feel are lacking, and we don't think about them. We just put them aside and don't look at those areas of our life. Like maybe it's creativity, maybe it's fun, maybe it's social life, maybe it's relationships, whatever that looks like, career. what is giving us that anxiety about the future. And sometimes just doing an exercise like that, the wheel of life, is an answer. It gives you an answer. Sometimes it does. Meditating, like you said, just sitting with it and talking to that part of you and just trying to allow your higher self to show you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because all the answers are inside of you. Just have to be willing to open the door and to listen.
Sometimes I just surrender.
Mm.
That has been part of my spiritual awakening, is to give it up
Mm-hmm.
and allow myself to surrender, because I've been taught to be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us have, especially women
Yeah.
in a patriarchal society. Nothing against you men, but we are in a patriarchal society. It is shifting, but we
Mm-hmm.
are. That in order to get ahead in this world or be successful, or to stick up for others, whatever, we must fight and prove ourselves and really just sort of wear ourselves out
Mm.
and not give up,
Yeah.
not ever give up, and not let go of anything, and trust. And I've got this shirt on that says faith, because that has been something I need to remind myself of right now, is just that it's good to let go,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't be good at everything. And God
Mm-hmm.
knows I'm not. No pun intended. Um, but there are, and I believe this, and I think most of us do, there is some force beyond me that is much greater than I am, and that is my physical and ego self. Much greater than I am, knows the answer, and it's been said here before, is that the answer is in the room.
Mm-hmm.
If we just give it up,
Yeah.
let it go, and have faith that something's going to take over, something good.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been a big deal for me, to let go, to try to let go of responsibility and control.
That is the big word right there, control. We so desperately, and it's our ego part of us, so desperately wants to be in control. And a part of our evolution is getting to that state of surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. So deep breath with that one.
It's an ongoing challenge,
Mhm.
you know?
It is. And this is the challenge of really up leveling and transcending in life, going through the Maslow's hierarchy, and you get to a certain point where um, success is extremely important. And once we evolve through that to the next level, that's where the magic happens. That's where we realize we're more than just an earthly being.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where we switch from our male dominant energy of doing, 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 and shifting into our female energy, more balanced and allowing.
Mm. Sounds so gentle.
It is. It's a much more gentle energy. It's flowing downstream, as Esther Hicks and Abraham are so used to talking about going downstream. Yeah,
I
very
love her.
gentle. Yeah, me too. Her, them. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
awesome.
she's channeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Wow. So I wonder what the next step is going to be for us. What is the next big hurdle in spiritual awakening? Do we know?
The next big step is just continuing to heal what needs to be healed, continuing to surrender, let go, trust the higher self. And then my understanding, the next level is living in that grace and that peace and that magic where We live more in the quantum realm where we're not held back by the constraints of humanness, and we just be who we are.
Be that soul part of you.
Yes, exactly. That beautiful light and that love. And I guess one way of the next step is being an example of
Mhm.
what's possible and being there for others that are going through this, that are scared and confused, and assuring them that it's okay.
Oh, yes. Well, this is a practice, and we have to realize that change doesn't usually happen overnight. It is a practice, a process, even this type of a change. So we take what we know and trust it, which is called intuition.
Mm.
We take what we already know and we trust it and intuitively move forward, trusting our gut, knowing ourself, loving ourself. I've been doing a lot of work on my pet project, which is it's called the Self Continuum. And it just all begins with getting centered in yourself. You
Mhm.
just begin with yourself,
Mm.
know yourself, trust yourself, love yourself. Yourself meaning all those parts of you, not
Mm.
just your earthly self, but your higher self, your spirit, because you come with guides.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yes.
It's, those that are believe in like Christianity, for example, Jesus is there.
Yeah.
God is there guiding you. Those that believe in the thought of like your higher self being that spirituality, your higher self is always there and you
Mm.
trust in it. And it may seem like intuition, but it's your higher self. Um, and there's all different types of schools of thought, angels, spirit guides, the universe, like Gabby Bernstein's book, The Universe Has Your Back. Yes, it does.
Mhm.
Something's always got your back, but you need to have faith and trust. And I need to have faith and trust. And it begins with getting centered and knowing you, loving you. And if we keep going forward on this continuum, we're going towards unconditional love.
Mhm.
That's the transcendence.
Yeah.
That's where you were talking about earlier. That's where we experience that bliss.
Yeah.
Anything the opposite direction of that is fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you rather be led with, fear or trust?
Mm,
Fear or love? I'm choosing trust and love. I know
yeah.
you are too.
Yes, trust, love, faith, all those are just
Yeah.
over there on the right. Definitely going
Ye
towards that unconditional love.
yeah.
And that's profound thinking of that unconditional love. I mean, seriously, nothing affects it.
Mhm.
Nothing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be bold and say to everybody listening, you lived in fear long enough. You lived inside that little shell long enough. You know, it's time to be courageous, to recognize what is going on, know that you're okay. You know, Dawn, you and I have their back. People
Always.
know that if they have any questions about this or they have any concerns or they need to talk about this, we have resources for that to support people on this path.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't resonate with you. Maybe something we said makes you angry. Possible. Take a look at that. Where's that coming
Yes.
from? And, examine it. Because anger is not a pleasant emotion to experience, but that's telling you something. It's a message from yourself or God or whatever you're going to see it as. And here's a buzzword, but what's triggering that?
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. It's another knock at the door.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not always positive things.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of it's not.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yes.
Thank you for your insight on
Thank you
that.
as
And
well.
I love the vision of the future us that's transcended that you gave us. It was so beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. This is one of my favorite topics. Well, we both love talking about ways to help people to feel better, to find their joy, to live in their joy, to love themselves, to expand and to be all that they came here to be, which is just a magnificent being a light of light and to live in joy. And I want to go back just briefly about what you said at the beginning, when you were questioning, when that earth angel asked you, about your life, and you talked about just being, I want to just invite people to ask, how do you want to be?
Mm.
Just bring that in what you said, because that was very good. How do you want
Thank
to
you.
be? How do you want to feel? And if there's a gap there, then that's fantastic. That's normal. And you get to be in charge and close that gap.
Beautiful. After my son Josh passed away a year and a half ago, I realized something. My tagline for my business, my coaching business, was because you have more to do. That was my tagline. And I realized that doing wasn't where it's at,
Mhm.
because when I I realized that doing wasn't enough. Um, it I did a lot for my kids. Do, 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 do.
Mhm.
What I wasn't doing was being with them, just enjoying the time together, because the reality of it is we're only here for a short period of time and we don't know how long it's going to be.
Mhm.
And the doing really kind of just falls off and is meaningless at some point. The being never does.
Yeah.
It's who we are. It's who we are being. It's who he was being, that has stuck.
Mhm.
My grandparents, same thing. When I think about them, it's who were they, not what they had, not what they did, but who they were.
Mhm.
That's their legacy.
Mhm.
That's all of our legacy. Who are you being?
Mhm. That's
So let's
beautiful.
just be. Just be
Yeah.
present. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you officially change your tagline then? You have more to
Good.
be. Okay.
Because you have more to be now. I've got my website's been changed. I've got to go back and redo my email, like, signature. But yeah, sometimes I just cross it off. I cross off you and I put B in all caps, because it is the most important thing, because you have more to be.
Yeah. I love that. Love that. So beautiful. Yeah, my tagline is elevated living in a new era.
Ah, that says so much. Elevated, rise up.
Yeah.
Because we are in a new era. We are leaving the patriarchal society, and we're
Mhm.
going more towards the divine feminine.
Yes, we are.
And men and women get to come. It's not just for women.
Right.
Men, that we need men too. Please don't leave us.
Well, we do. And what people may not understand is we all have that male female energy within us, and like you said before, we've been so patriarchal dominant, and so we've been lopsided, and bringing in the feminine, at some point we're going to become balanced. And that's ultimately what you want, is to live in that male female balance. There's
Yeah.
such peace there when you have that.
Hmm. We all want peace. We all want
Yeah.
freedom. All right. Well, we have a couple of events coming up. Tell us about your program that you have coming up this month.
Oh, yes, the middle of March. I
May.
have I keep saying March.
I
Why do
know,
I
but
do that?
they both start with MA. That's why.
Jeez,
It's okay.
I'm so confused.
You're
I'm
not.
in such a time warp. May, I'm in denial. That's what I
Okay.
am. I'm in
Okay.
denial. I'm in denial that this is May. So yeah, yeah. So as long as I'm not in denial the day that I host this event. Anyway, May, I believe is the 17th. I am hosting an Angel Healing SOS. It's a free event where we are going to get together in a very safe container, and it's a guided meditation bringing in archangels and the energy of Mother God, which is such a soft healing energy and just letting go of whatever is ready to let go within each individual person. Anybody interested, there will be a link down below in this description. It's also on my website, alignwithjoy.com/angelsos. It's also under my website under programs. It's completely free, no strings attached. There will be a replay sent for those that want to register but cannot show up live because not everybody's available at 5 o'clock Pacific on that day. So anyway, that's my big thing. And I do have something else coming down the chute that I haven't even shared with you, but I will tell you more about it. It's a 30-day self-care love program that I'm going to be offering that I will talk more about, but that is coming up first. So that's me. And
Beautiful.
thank you. Let's hear about you.
Okay. So we have Light Weavings podcast, which you're listening to or watching right now on YouTube. And there's also Light Weavings retreats. So another friend of ours, Tamara Langford, and I are hosting a retreat in Sedona, Arizona on June 16th through the 19th. That's a 3-night stay in a beautiful VRBO home at the base of the Red Rocks, just within minutes of downtown Sedona. Beautiful area. And those of you that don't know what Sedona, Arizona is, it's a beautiful little village nestled in the Red Rocks, the Red Mountains, and vortexes of getting close to northern Arizona. It's between Phoenix and Flagstaff, a little bit to the west. It's magical. It's magical. There's vortexes there, the energy, you can feel it. And then, so a lot of spiritual people have businesses there, hang out there, and it is a mecca for all things spiritual and beautiful. So the retreat will be held there in Sedona. We have 2 people registered. There's 6 beds available in this home. 2 of those beds are in a casita, so it's a private area for 2 to 4 people if they want to stay in there. The total amount of space we have for the retreat is 12, so we will not have any more than 12 people. When the home fills up, we also have backup housing at a resort right across the street. So we're really excited about that. It's called the Power Awakening Summer Solstice Retreat in Sedona, Arizona. So we will be talking and working on some of the things that we talked about today, which is power awakening and understanding yourself and what that looks like and what our responsibilities are. It's going to be magical. It's all inclusive. We're going to be creating healthy meals. We're going to be doing very low energy hikes. It'll be not energy, but low impact hikes. The energy will be fantastic because where we are, and it'll be fun. It'll be really fun, and I believe it will be transformational. So once again, mark your calendars if you're interested. Reach out to me. There'll be a link below. Lightweavingsretreats.com is the website.
Excellent. It sounds like a fantastic time.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about it. We've got some really fun things planned. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. This has been, a topic that we will talk about again because spiritual awakening is a premise for everything that we do and where we're going. So this is just the beginning. There'll be more. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them below the video or the podcast. Make sure that you subscribe if you like what you hear. Please share it with others that you think might benefit from it or enjoy it as well.
Yes.
Thanks for showing up today.
Thank you, Dawn. It's been just an honor as always, and wishing you a fantastic week and everyone else as well.
Okay, bye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.